And we are all set.
Good morning. Welcome to the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, Tuesday, April 28th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ms. Rakowski, will you call roll?
Absolutely. Mayor Lake.
Here.
Councilman Brown.
Here.
The Budget and Finance Committee is present. For the record, we have City Manager Mr. Scott Cornegay, we have Administrative Clerk Miss Mary Miller, and myself, City Clerk Lynn Rutkowski.
Excellent. Is there any public comment cards today?
I have no public comments. I do have Miss Carrie Collins on the line to speak to item number 5.
Okay, excellent. I think we'll get started with agenda item number 1. This is our year-to-date 2019-2020 financial review. Can I call on Mr. Cornegay?
Good morning, everyone. We'll jump right into this. We'll start with the lake replenishment restoration account. That should be the first thing you see in your packet. Just it's very straightforward. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. As you can see, we have a balance of $41,746.01.
Have we made our annual contribution to that fund yet?
That transfer will be happening later on this month. It's already budgeted. We just wait to mid-year to make those transfers.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Brown?
No.
Okay, Mr. Cornegay, would you like to move on?
Yes, to the cemetery fund, please. So going down the line items there, you can see that total assets are $458,129.86. And then the equity balances are all there for a balanced budget of $458,129.86.
And how are you feeling about our perpetual care fund, Mr. Cornegay?
I'm sorry, say that again?
How are you feeling about our perpetual care fund? Do you feel like we're in the right place?
Yes, I do. We that amount is fixed every year, and I think it's more than adequate. I don't think it needs to be adjusted up or down.
Okay.
And then moving on to the income and expense sheet, you can see the financials for March and then year to date, what we budgeted and where we stand over and under budget.
So this is fairly average at this point of the year?
Yes, ma'am. There's nothing out of the ordinary in the cemetery account.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Brown?
Yes. One question: where our checking account is at $142,291.87, there at the top of the page.
Yes.
Is that the money we're going to have to use? Any of that for what we're planning to, like the niches and stuff like that, at a later date? And are we looking at doing that this year?
Well, that's a good question, Tony, because we're going to bring that up in a little bit when we get to item 2, the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
That's where we stand as far as that goes. So we'll address that when we get to item 2.
10-4.
To answer the first half of your question, though, Councilman Brown, yes, that would be where that money would come from, is that 142.
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions on the cemetery?
Okay.
All right, moving on to the CRA. $107,551.59. Here's the balance sheet, and then moving over to the income and expenses. Same thing. You can see this month's and then year to date total budget and where we stand currently.
Okay.
Okay.
General fund?
Yes, ma'am. Moving on to general fund.
I got one question real quick about the CRA.
Yep.
Down on page 1 where it says seasonal decorations,
Yes.
what is that, like the flags or Christmas lights, or what is that include?
Yes. It does. We're going to have to, as you know, with the new streetscape and the new light poles and everything, we're going to have to buy new banners or whatever sort of decorations we end up needing.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, the general fund balance sheet. $1,049,357.92. Any questions on the balance sheet?
On page 1,
Yes.
item 101070, that loan debt,
Yes.
3,920. What is that for? Is that on the trucks?
No, there's no loan on any of the vehicles. That it's Lynn, it's not the balance of the loan that we paid off or almost paid off, is it?
No, so that balance reflects when we partnered with CCUA and received that loan several years ago to put in water sewer. And so that has to remain in our account, and we're looking at that agreement right now to see what we can do. That's something that Mary and I have had conversations with Miss Rebecca about.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the income and expenses. And you see the March financials and the year-to-date budget and the work plan. And we're going to talk more about the this revenue piece in just a minute when we move on to item 2. But everything else is in line and where it should be. Any questions?
I don't have any.
No, I have none either.
Okay.
So if you want to move on to item 2, Mr. Cornegay, and talk about projected loss of revenue.
Yes, ma'am. So this is probably going to be one of the most important things that we've talked about in the last 4 years. Since Friday, Lynn and I have been talking to the other municipality managers and the county manager and the county auditor, and worked on this most of the weekend and all day yesterday. The best guess, and that's exactly what it is a guess, an educated guess, that the county auditor has come up with is that we're looking at a 30% loss of revenue for the remainder of the year. And that would extend into the next budget year as well. So what we've done is we've created a spreadsheet to illustrate where the losses will be, and then talk about what we want to do to address that loss. So I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet here for you to look at. Went away. Bear with me.
We're hanging out, Mr. Cornegay. We understand technology can be challenging.
basically for me.
Especially when you're on the spot, right?
That's right. I'm almost there, I think. All right. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do this without some help.
Here she comes.
Bear with me just one moment. I'm sure you're getting a fantastic shot of right up my nose right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right, can everybody see that?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Run around.
All right. Give her a second to get back to her office. Can everybody see my cursor as I move it around?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we've done is in this first column here where it says FY 1920 budget, we've added up all the tax revenue for that we budgeted for this year, $986,208. In this column, year-to-date receipts is the amount we've collected so far, $620,693. In this column is the difference. This is the amount to still be collected. Now, here in this column, 70% of the amount remaining to be collected is what we're projecting to get after the 30% reduction. So in this column, you see the totals. We're looking at a $109,655 shortfall in revenue this year. And then what we did in this last column is we extended it out to the 2021 budget year. So next budget year, we're looking at a shortfall of $295,000. So the question becomes, how do we handle that? We've basically got two choices. We can either, and can I go back to the regular screen?
Hit stop share.
There we go. All right. So the two choices are we can go through and look at the projects and see where we can cut and account for the almost $110,000 in shortfall, or dip into the fund balance and move forward with our projects. Currently, the fund balance is right around $300,000, but this is something you guys need to talk about and decide what you want to do going forward. What we can do if you choose to is we can put together some numbers, take a look at the projects, and what we'd have to cut to get to the 110,000, and then bring that back to the Budget and Finance Committee in a couple of weeks. Well, like I said, the other option is taking approximately 1/3 of the fund balance to move ahead with the project.
Well, I'll start. I don't prefer that option myself personally. I would rather see staff, you and Lynn put together, and Mary, put together some numbers of the projects that were projected. Some of our projects involve reimbursement money, like the trailhead. I don't know that, so I would like to know which projects are going to be impacted by the loss of revenue. Mr. Brown, what do you think?
I agree. Where are we at with the streets? Would we got any streets this next year that can be put off till the following year if we have anything in that?
Yeah, we do. We've got a little bit of an issue with the accounting from last year because that last resurfacing project spilled over into this fiscal year. So we're going to have to drill down on those numbers and figure out just what we've got in that account. But you know, we had budgeted for the niches at the cemetery. We had budgeted for the theme park, a couple of other major projects that we were looking at. So those will be the ones that we'll look at and see where we can dial back.
I think I'd like to look at those projects and see how deeply they're going to be impacted.
We can certainly do that.
Would the cemetery have anything to do? I mean, we need to cut from the cemetery also for this 110,000.
Well, yes, the columbarium, the construction of the columbarium, we had budgeted for that, so that
Right.
it could possibly be one of the things that we cut.
So, okay, just bear with me a minute, but this number you've given us, that's across the board for every, I mean, the cemetery, lakes, whatever. But it's not just simply the general fund.
That's right.
Okay, all right. I'm in agreement with the mayor. Just, you know, y'all bring back to us what you think we need to cut.
All right, we'll do it.
Any other discussion, Mr. Brown? Do you have anything else for? Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward. Let us know when you have it together and we can put together another meeting.
Certainly will.
Okay. Item 3, Orange Park Challenge. Donate to Human Services, Clay County. Is this you, Mr. Corrigan?
Lynn's going to handle this one for us.
Okay.
Last week, the mayor of Orange Park has challenged each municipality to donate to the Human Services Lift portion of the Clay County emergency management that they have going on right now. Orange Park last week at their council meeting designated $10,000 to go there for dry goods, canned goods, box goods, that is being distributed to our local food banks. I have some numbers that I called Miss Victoria at Clay County Emergency Management specifically. From March 27th until yesterday, Clay County, through the emergency management, through the food that they're receiving from emergency management and dispatching out, have fed 40,289 people. A little over 10% is coming to Keystone Heights through our food bank here. We have fed 4,739 families. I had a pretty extensive conversation with Miss Victoria and Mr. Troy at Clay County. There is a shortage statewide over dry goods because the stores are in desperate need of them, so they're going to the shelves versus going to the food pantries. They have several matching. They've received several guarantees on match that for every 10,000 that they buy, they'll receive $15,000 worth of goods. And so it was just Mayor Thomas's challenge to each municipality to help support the food banks that are going on in your community, to help support the families. I wanted to bring that to the Budget and Finance Committee. I know that we're looking at a shortfall, however, give you the option on if this is something that you would like to consider, and if so, at what amount. So I leave that with you.
I'll go to Mr. Brown first. What do you think, Tony?
Well, after we just come up with a shortfall, my question is on the food banks, is this because they're waiting on funds from the federal government to come in and they need it now?
They're receiving FEMA funds, FEMA relief, and they're receiving truckfuls. However, it's becoming the dry goods are becoming scarce because it's a supply and demand. Those dry goods are not being donated. They're not being given are distributed through FEMA because they're going to the store shelves. That's if you go to the grocery store, it's empty.
No.
So they have worked out deals through matching grants, a 50% match through local grocers that they would be able to buy again $10,000 worth of food and receive $15,000 in return. If we were looking at donating, helping, that would be the biggest bang for our buck because they do have that match.
Let me ask this. Let me put it this way. So, I feel strongly about feeding people, as strongly as probably other people do as well. The fact of the matter is, most of the food that we've received down here in Keystone has been the surplus food that didn't go to Disney and all the resorts that had to shut down due to COVID-19. So the reason why we're where we're at now is we've run out of that food. I wondered, Mr. Brown, if you would be willing. I don't like to table things. I usually like to deal with stuff as they come up, but under these conditions, and since we don't know which projects we're going to be cutting in the future, could we put this off to the next meeting to get a better idea of what we're going to be cutting for ourselves, and then take a look at whether we were able to make a donation? Does that seem reasonable?
That very much so.
I mean, I feel strongly about it, but I also don't want to negate our position, our financial position either.
I agree.
So, Ms. Rakowski, if you would, if Mayor Thomas asks, let her know it's still under consideration. We're not saying no, but we're not saying yes yet. We just need to understand our financial position a little bit better.
Absolutely.
And then, so we move on to Geneva Jungle remodel.
So once again, we had talked about replacing the fence at the beach, but we're going to bring this back in front of you before we moved on with the bid process to confirm that that's indeed something we want to do. Once again, we have no idea what we're up against in terms of cuts, but I wanted you guys to make that decision, and give us some direction on that. Once again, it's something that we could delay until we get a better idea of what we're up against in terms of cutting projects.
I'll jump in. I agree that from A to D needs to be tabled till we figure out what you're going to bring back to us. I mean, I would definitely like to see a new fence, especially that black rubber type fence would really do a big bang.
Yeah.
Until somebody runs into it. But the lights at the beach, I think would it's just all those items are good items, but I think we need to just hold off until we figure out what we're going to have to cut before we start agreeing to spend money.
I agree. I think we can, if we just put it all in the pot, and I do want to move forward with some projects. I think it's important to keep the city moving forward, but I also want to be very, very judicious about the projects we select. So if you want to shake it up, Mr. Cornegay, and see how it all falls out, let us know.
Yeah, that's exactly what we'll do. I think that's a good choice.
Okay. Item 5, 4th of July, request for funds.
Ms. Collins,
Hi,
you are
good morning.
now mute.
Thank you. This is Carrie Collins, and I know I've spoken with everyone before regarding the special event application for the 5K. that was recently approved. And sticking with Ms. Hatch from the Kiwanis, it's my understanding that the city has previously paid for Christmas parades and other events, the security costs associated with Clay County Sheriff's Office for doing so. And I was hopeful that this year as well, if everything comes to fruition with the parade and the 5K, that the city would also be willing to support the 5K by paying security costs, or I mean, definitely the security costs, but any other expenses associated with it. I understand, you know, from your previous discussion talking about the sounds like shortfall in the budget that all municipalities and counties are going to face. But, you know, I think it's important also, like the mayor said, you have to keep moving forward and, you know, planning for the future. And, you know, because this isn't going to be the scenario always. You know, people are going to, you know, need something to look forward to. So, with that, that's pretty much my request. And I also wanted to say that I'm extremely appreciative of the help I've received this far from the city and the council, and working my way into this new hat I'm going to wear of race director. So it's been a learning experience, but I'm looking forward to it. And I just put my request forward.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carey. I'm happy you joined us. Mr. Brown, do you have any comments?
Gary, are you looking at staying with the same pattern as Kiwanis did in the past for the race in the way of the run?
Yes, in fact, the race route that I put forward was the same race route from 2014. And I did speak to Lieutenant Gaydon at CCSO. I'm going to wait and send him everything once I have the resolution and the minutes from the May 4th meeting. But he assured me that once he looked at everything and he came up with a plan, he would minimize the amount of deputies that, you know, were necessary, and he would do everything he could to make it, you know, as safe, obviously, but also as feasible as possible with the minimum amount of deputies. And I also anticipate having a fair amount of volunteers to also facilitate as well.
Is it feasible, Ms. Carey, that, you know, given our budgetary restraints at this time and the fact that we didn't budget for an additional event, is there a way to maybe add in to the window that we're already paying for the parade?
I did ask him that, the lieutenant at CCSO, I put that forward, and he said, you know, really they're two different events, so he couldn't commit to that, but he did assure me that he would, you know, he would minimize the amount of people that were necessary. So my understanding from talking to Ms. Hatch, one of the Kiwanis, is that for the Christmas parade, the cost for the deputies was approximately $1,500. Although I looked at the budget and I thought it was maybe $1,297. So I'm thinking that that's maybe pretty close, or no?
If I can speak to that. So we budget up to $1,500 for security purposes for road closures for both parades that are put on by the Kiwanis every year. What happens is that once they also speak with Lieutenant Gaydon and go through CCSO and then FDOT, they pay the deputies up front, and then they invoice the city with a copy of who and what they paid, and we reimburse that cost. So it's up to $1,500 per event for security reasons. Sometimes they have to offset 2 volunteers for every 1 deputy or whatever that looks like due to the availability of the deputies, also the availability of volunteers. But that's the agreement that that's what we budget every year, is up to $1,500 per event based on the security needs.
Okay, so it sounds like the amount that I would be looking at for the 5K would be 1,500, but that if they didn't to budget for, but if that amount wasn't all used, then, you know, it would only be whatever, you know, whatever was used. So, I just think that, you know, I know it wasn't in the budget already, but, you know, it's only been the last 2 years that the 5K hasn't been running on the 4th of July. The Kiwanis have taken it, off site, but, you know, it would be great to have the support. And, you know, I understand that there's going to be maybe some FDOT projects on the road and whatnot, but hopefully those could be delayed until after the 4th of July. That would be the best case scenario with the parade and all, I'm assuming. But, you know, even into, like you said, the next budget year, so that, you know, it wouldn't have as great of an impact or whatnot with the city with the projects.
Mr. Brown, do you have any comments?
Have we heard anything about, I mean, that is a concern for the parade and everything in July, is where are we at with that, with FDOT?
So I reached out to the engineer in Orlando last week and tried to get some information regarding the status and the timeline and so forth. I was advised that he would reach out to DOT and get back with him, but I haven't seen anything yet. So I don't really know what's going on as far as the timeline goes.
Well, I think, you know, we probably need to put this $1,500 on the table with all the other projects that we're looking to support or not support this year. What is your feeling, Mr. Brown?
I agree. I mean, because I was just looking, we got budgeted like $3,000 for Kiwanis parades, and that's just the two that we do. And but with knowing the paperwork that you have to do at FDOT, I would go ahead and carry and you know, push forward. I mean, because you don't want to wait on that, because that is really time consuming and a lot of signatures and stuff that have to be done. But I would hope that we could have another meeting in the very, very near future, so we don't, you know, prolong this, because this project here with the parade, for the 5K, is something that she's going to need to know, you know, pretty soon.
I agree.
So for your knowledge, then we will discuss the parade again at the May 4th meeting, because Ms. Carey does need a resolution to move forward with CCSO, Clay County, and FDOT. We can schedule, and I've got this down to talk about at the end of the meeting, another budget and finance meeting the week of May 12th. So, and that way we can look at this and the budget and our audit and other items.
Okay, let me ask you this, Mr. Cornegay, if we go to May 12th for the budget and finance meeting, is that going to give you guys enough time to come up with a realistic schedule of expenditures and projects?
I believe so. We're, like I said, we're assuming the 30%. So all those numbers have already been displayed. So now all we have to do is look at the individual project and come back with a recommendation. So to answer your question, yeah, that'll give it to you.
Okay. So Ms. Carey, I hate to put you off for another 2 weeks, but it appears that we're going to keep you going forward in terms of putting you on our May 4th agenda. But I think we need to slow down and look at the numbers really carefully before we make a decision on what we spend.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, it'd be great to have the city support, you know, like other organizations like the Kiwanis, and, you know, other things that the city supports, like the Orange Park Challenge, which, you know, I feel is important as well. Like you said, feeding, you know, people. But I'm going to move forward regardless and, you know, get the resolution on the 4th with the minutes, you know, if that's on the agenda. And, you know, I'm going to move forward regardless, because you know, my feeling is Florida is on its way up, and, you know, that I'm hopeful this week that, you know, the governor moves forward on some issues. So, you know, I'm looking to the future, and I'm going to, you know, push forward and hopefully get it done regardless. And, you know, there are lots of businesses out there that, you know, can hopefully give private support that have done, you know, really well during, you know, this time. So there's other avenues if it doesn't work out, but, you know, obviously it would help, but, you know, it is what it is right now. But I appreciate the consideration, and yep, we'll just come to the next meeting and see where it's at.
Perfect.
I have a question. When we discuss this in our budget and finance, would that, and we agreed to go ahead with the 1,500 for the 5K, we have to wait till the June meeting for the council to okay that, correct?
That's correct. So the recommendation out of the meeting the week of the May 12th will come from Budget and Finance and be heard by actually the CRA, because that's the budget that
Okay.
it'll be taken from, or that it'll be budgeted into. So it'll be the recommendation of the Budget and Finance meeting, or the Budget and Finance Committee, one way or another, and then it'll be discussed at the CRA.
Okay.
And
Thank
in
you.
fact, it would be a budget amendment, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about the 5K? You're already, any other discussion? No, Mr. Brown, you're good?
No, I'm good.
Downtown Wi-Fi.
So, Madam Mayor, this is a project that you had brought up briefly within our last CRA meeting. We talked about creating a seamless Wi-Fi zone for the downtown core. I have reached out to a couple different places, and I just wanted to give you a heads up in the Budget and Finance Committee, and I'm pretty certain I know where this is going to go. However, we're looking at anywhere between $30,000 and $100,000 to start up first year, with a annual cost of $3,000 to $7,000, depending on what's going to fit our needs. There's different ways to pursue this. Looking over some of the numbers, I would strongly recommend that if this is something that we're going to pursue, and I assume that this is something we'll talk about again prior to, but we put it within our CRA budget. It will benefit the businesses downtown. It'll be along the downtown core within our community redevelopment area. And it's something that we could potentially feasibly fund over the course of 2 years.
All righty. I think we're tabling this. Is that correct, Mr. Brown?
Yes, but I do have a question, because you know I'm challenged with this kind of stuff. And just bear with me, but what are we looking at doing this? I mean, is it for people to pull up and park and use it from their cars? Then you said businesses, but I mean, most all your businesses have Wi-Fi. I mean, we got it in our homes and stuff like that. Can y'all just enlighten me a little bit on the purpose of doing it all downtown?
Sure. And I think I sent the link to Ms. Lynn. She could actually forward the link to you, which just describes the Wi-Fi zone and the benefits of it, not only to businesses, but for example, during this time, the elementary school has brought a hotspot down to Keystone Beach so that students who don't have Wi-Fi or internet access at home have a place where they can go and sit down and do homework. This is that same kind of idea that we extend it. So when people come to downtown, they're encouraged to sit downtown, hang out, go in and out of our businesses, and help our businesses do more business. So it was an idea that I had thrown out there some time ago. We didn't have a number associated at the time. This is the first time I'm hearing numbers. So, but with everything else, I really feel at this point we should probably table it and or look at it in terms of all the other projects we want to do.
Okay.
Anything else for the good of the order?
I don't have anything.
Ms. Wachowski, Mr. Cornegay, anything?
No, ma'am, I have nothing.
Okay.
If you
Well-
will look at your calendars for the week of May 12th and email me some options, I'll put together a meeting later on this week and send you an invite and get it scheduled.
Okay. Will do. If nothing else, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
You-